leisure experience presentation. My name is Eric Lufbro, and for my leisure experience, I chose to learn to sew and create a small project. Real quick, I'm going to go through how I got my idea. The who is my parents' dog, Fiji. She's training with my parents to be a guide dog for the blind. The what is a Halloween costume, more importantly, an easy Halloween costume. The why is a guide dog Halloween party. Fiji was in need of a costume for the party, so I decided to sew together an easy costume. I've never sewed before. The where is two places, actually. I traveled to my grandparents in Discovery Bay to get sewing technique and ideas. Then I went to my parents' house to measure the dog and to sew. And for the when, Halloween was on October 31st this year. I got an idea for the costume when I did a Google search for sew Halloween dog costume. The idea that I found was at craftsofchadsford.com, and that's to sew two oval-shaped pieces of red fabric together, and then a white fabric M to the top of one side, then stuff it and strap it to the dog, and you got yourself an M&M costume. So I measured the dog and went to a fabric store called Joann's in San Ramon, where I had someone cut me out a few yards of red and white fabric. I also bought some needles and thread. I had to be walked through pretty much every detail of the process, and when I told the fabric cutter that I had no idea what I was doing, she replied, "Don't worry, not many people with an X chromosome do." I think she meant Y chromosome, but, I left it alone. The actual project wasn't that bad to finish once I had that instruction from my grandmother, but it was hard to finish with any degree of quality. The needle I had bought was way too big, and it was a pain to get through the cotton fabric I had selected. It left big holes in the stitching, too. When I pulled the thread tight, it raised the edges up. That was ugly, and the M was really hard to cut straight. Here are a few pictures of me getting started. And the bottom right photo is a work in progress, but the rest of these are the finished product. I used Fiji's guide dog uniform to hold the M&M in place, and it kind of made the edges droop at the attached point, and the whole thing was a bit droopy, but just fine for a dog costume. And that's the end of my story. I left the costume at my parents' house, Fiji went to the Halloween party very well dressed, and I learned about sewing. Members of my gender, the male gender, haven't usually participated in the art of sewing. My theory is that sewing projects are usually so long that it takes all day, and males usually don't have all day, and females sometimes do. I certainly haven't participated in sewing, and the reason is I've chosen other leisure activities, and I've always had my grandma who could sew anything, anytime I needed anything. So the question is, what exactly did I learn about sewing? Much like cooking, I can follow directions very well, but the hard part is in the details. And in sewing, the details also make or break the project. I was uncomfortable in Joann's, the fabric store. There were so many different types of fabric and thread and needles, and no directions anywhere, so I just pretended like I knew what I was doing and chose at random. The actual sewing itself, I could see could be an individual or a group activity, I guess, if you have more than one sewer in the same room. Taking sewing lessons from my grandma was interesting. She pretended like she thought I wanted to sew, not like I had to for a school project. Also, I didn't tell any of my friends about this project, or especially my coworkers, because saying I was sewing for a school project would not make anyone think I knew what I was doing in the world of finance. While I'm sure if I was a girl, it wouldn't have made much of a difference. All said and done, let's look at the numbers. I spent about $22, but bought about 6 times too much fabric and probably special needles. I worked on it for just about one full day, and I had fun with a recreational activity that is non-traditional for my gender. Again, my name is Eric Lufbro, and thanks for listening. I never thought it would be possible to do a sewing project for an online class.